Hello, friends. Before we go to the Barbara O'Neill interview, please do me a favor. Click where it says like. It might be down here on your screen or down here. Or you might have a phone and it's up here or it's up here. Find that like button, click it. It helps the videos to go much farther and reach more people. Thank you. Hello, friends. I want to welcome you to another special Amazing Facts Spotlight. And we're very thankful today to have a special guest, Barbara O'Neill, who is a world-famous health lecturer, nutritionist, educator. And welcome, Barbara, to Amazing Facts.
It's good to be here.
You know, I've seen a number of your videos, and you just have such a natural way of teaching practical health tips and covers a broad spectrum of subjects. So for our audience today, maybe just take a moment, and we know we have new viewers. Introduce yourself a little bit, and how did you get into health education?
Well, I first got interested in health because I'm a fifth generation Australian Scottish descent. So I grew up with sausages, chops, mashed potatoes, frozen peas or beans every night except for Sunday, roast lamb. And if I got sick, it was usually a cold in the middle of winter. Mum would take me to the doctor. I'd get some cherry-flavoured medicine, go home and be better. And then I trained as a psychiatric nurse, and same thing. Person gets sick, gets a drug to make them better. I never questioned it, never doubted it. Even though I was brought up in a home where my father was an inventor, so we questioned everything. But not in medicine. Medicine's like an area you don't touch. So when my first daughter I got an earache, I went straight to the doctor. Now, over 6 weeks and 4 courses of antibiotics, the earache keeps coming back. My father's an inventor. We would talk to question, and I thought, this isn't making any sense. So I said, well, my daughter be on this for the rest of her life, and he was challenged by that. So he sent me to an ear, nose and throat specialist who looked in Emma's ears, in her mouth, said she's teething. Give her these drops to keep the eustachian tubes clear. But that started me on a journey. I didn't want that. And so I started asking old people next door. You know, I'm 25, the old lady next door's 85. What did your mother do when you had an earache? Steamed up an onion on the stove. So the next child, similar thing happened. I steamed up the onion. Child slept for 2 hours. No more earache. I was like a woman possessed. There is something else. But something else happened around that time, which was really the most wonderful event in my life, is I started reading the Bible and I surrendered my heart to God. And then I wanted to know, well, how does God see the body? How does God see healing? Because as a fifth generation Australian Scottish descent, we never heard about health growing up. And then I started to see, it's like my eyes were opened. I started to see, do you know, there's a health message all through the Bible. God wants the body to be looked after because it's the temple of God. And so probably I had another whole lot of children. I ended up giving birth to 6 children, no drugs, treated them all naturally, started to help my friends. And then in 1997, I'd been a single mother for 4 years. Michael O'Neill asked me to marry him. And he was the business manager at a health retreat. And after a year of being married, he wanted to start his own health retreat. So he went right down the bottom of Australia. And I said, what are our team? He said, well, we've got 8 children between us. You know, one's a cook, one's a massage therapist, the boys are gardeners, his daughter's the secretary. I said, who'll be the health director? He said, you. I said, no, I'm just a mother. My name's Barbara Esther, and I liken it to when Esther said to Mordecai, no, I can't go before the king. But my husband said, no, you'll be good, and he walked out of the room. So there it was. So there I was really pushed in to be the reluctant health director. I'm never reluctant to help people, but I never wanted to be in the front line, but God had other plans, and I discovered the best way to learn is to teach. And that was 26 years ago.
So you've been teaching and learning all along the way, and I know you're constantly doing research and learning new things. Now, I've seen your YouTubes. You've got quite a few YouTubes. And if you're like me, there's a few people that capture your YouTubes and rebroadcast them. And you're teaching on a broad spectrum of natural remedies and health practices, and we've got you for a short time here. And so I thought, what if you were to tell people living in first world countries, Western civilization, what are 3 health secrets, things they could do or stop doing that would lengthen their lives? I'd like to take the best, the cream of your knowledge and experience. What would that be?
Now, Doug, you've asked me a very hard question. Bring it down to 3. Bring it down to 3. I think number 1 would have to be water.
Oh, great.
Because we're 75% water from the neck down, 85% from the neck up, and so many people today are drinking tea, they're drinking coffee, they're having sodas, they're having all sorts of things. Maybe they're really healthy and it's just juice, but nothing does what water does. To wash your body with juice, to wash your body with coffee is not going to be very clean, and it's the same with the inside of the body. See, I believe that God created our body to heal. It's a self-healing organism, but it's also a self-cleansing organism. And you would never go into an old house and just start painting the old dirty walls. You cleanse it first. And so we have a cleaning system in the body, and it needs water. And it needs approximately 8 glasses a day, 8 glasses of 8 ounces. I never used to drink water. And you know, it says in Revelation chapter 12, it says, verse 11, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Here's my testimony on water. I never used to drink water, and yet I was pregnant or breastfeeding non-stop for 14 years. But I used to get headaches all the time. If I travelled, I didn't like travelling, just in the car, short periods, headache, terrible sinus. And then I discovered you got to drink water. I am an avid reader. In fact, I average about a book a week. I love reading. I devour them. And I read the book, One of the Body's Many Cries for Water by a Dr. Batman Geheldage. His other title is He's Not Sick, He's Thirsty. The other title is Don't Treat Thirst with Medications. I began to drink. I could never drink a glass of water at once, but I thought, you know, I don't have to drink a whole glass. I can just drink a few mouthfuls. And then over the day, I'd do that, but I had to have my mind on it because I'd forget. And it wasn't long before I noticed that every time we travelled in the car, I didn't get a headache. And that's when I discovered that our brain cells shrink in dehydration. You see, the brain's a hydroelectric system. No hydro, no electricity. And I started to think a little bit clearer. I started to sleep better. I started to digest better. A whole lot of things happened, that's my testimony, because I started to drink more water. But also, I never got sinus anymore. So I just cleaned out my system. So I was excited about just drinking more water.
Most people, if I'm not mistaken, they don't drink until they're thirsty, but at that time they're dehydrated.
That's right. It's one of the last signs. It's actually a sign of a crisis. And that's why Dr. B, we'll call him Dr. B, that's why he says he's not sick, he's thirsty. Because he shows one of the first signs of dehydration can be stomach pain. Because your stomach hasn't got enough water to protect the stomach lining. It can be arthritis because the fluid in our joints is 99% water. In fact, 75% of our upper body weight is held in our lower back by water. It could be lower back pain. It could be so many things. So you're absolutely right. When thirst comes, it's actually a crisis.
So I do some health talks, not as extensive as you, and every cell in our body is made of water. And the only thing that cleans our cells is the blood. And the only thing that cleans the blood is the water in through the kidneys.
That's
and so the way you cleanse every cell in your body ultimately is you have to drink enough water.
That's right.
Very good.
That's right.
And drink more in the morning, because if you drink too much at night, you may not sleep through the night.
Yes, you may have to get up a few times.
Yeah. What would be number 2?
Number 2 would have to be movement.
Exercise. Yeah.
The body must move. Strength comes by exercise. There is no other way. I didn't think I had to exercise because I was always busy running here, running there. And then I was in New Zealand and I was staying with a lady. This is probably 20 years ago when I was 50. And she said to me, Barbara, I go on a 5-kilometre walk every morning. Would you like to come? I said, sure. I didn't have to get the kids up, put the breakfast on, put the wash on, all the things that I do as the queen of the household. Now, after 2 kilometres, I could barely keep up with her. And I thought, she's twice my size and I can't keep up with her. The next day when I woke up, I could hardly move. And you know, in Exodus 15:26, the Bible says, if you will diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, in your body, my body's saying to me, you're not getting enough exercise. Being busy all day is not enough. And you know what I said to my body? I'm hearing you. So when I went home, I looked at how I could implement an exercise program. I had to go to bed a little bit earlier, to get up a little bit earlier, to be able to do the exercise. I used to always get cold feet. Well, guess what? I stopped getting cold feet. And a friend of mine, he's got 3 PhDs. And one of his PhDs is the effect of exercise on the cell. He said, what you're doing, Barbara, in your morning exercise, up and down hills, getting a bit of high intensity as well, he said, you're opening a network of capillaries that equals the distance around planet Earth.
Wow.
Now, those capillaries are hearing, it's eyes, it's brain, yes, it's my extremities.
I like the way you say that. In Australian, capillaries, we say capillaries, but anyway, I know what you mean.
And I also know we say aluminium.
Aluminum.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
Yes, carry on.
So yeah, the exercise, I know that I tend to be cold a lot. It's been colder than my wife, but I'll go out and I'll play racquetball, I get some exercise, and then I'm warm the rest of the day. It just opens up your circulation.
Right. That's right. It opens up those capillaries. You know, when I was a little girl, we had a Morris Minor, and Dad and Mum and the 5 kids, we'd go to the bush to have a picnic. But one day the car wouldn't start, so Dad got out the front and got a crank handle and put it in, and he wound up the engine, and when it got going, he jumped in the car and we were off. Now, that's a really old story. I'm showing my age. But that's what you do when you exercise. You actually start the machinery up, and it's not just your blood capillary network, which actually is the life of the flesh. And the Bible calls it the life of the flesh in Leviticus 17:11 because it carries the oxygen, it carries the nutrients, it carries the water, it carries away waste, carries the white blood cells. And any part of the body that's not getting enough blood, it's actually not going to work very well. And exercise is the most powerful way to move that blood. So yesterday morning, I'm in Sacramento. I did a nice brisk walk, and then I dived into the American River. Now, I wasn't in there for very long, but I was hot.
And for our friends watching, it's winter time right now, so the American River is not warm.
It was not warm, and I was not in there long. So it's just a quick dunk, maybe 10 seconds. I jump out and I've got my little towel there and my big possum poncho so I can do a quick change underneath, get the wets off, get the dries on. And as we're walking back, I feel like I've got an injection of power. So this is another area of water, is using water as a treatment, really, on the body. And I have a fairly busy schedule, and people say, how do you do it? Well, one of the things I use is water. Yes, drinking adequate water, but definitely that quick cold on the outside. I cannot do it unless I'm hot. But I warm up through the exercise, and then you do the quick cold plunge. And there's a lot of information about cold plunges now. And Dr. Kellogg, very famous doctor, he wrote a lot on the effects of these quick colds. Now, I'm only little and I get cold quickly, but that actually warms me because it's quick. So we're warm-blooded creatures. We don't like the cold. And so when our hot body plunges into that cold water, there's a reaction. It's just as if, oh no, he's cold. If she stays in that water for a few hours, she could die from hypothermia. So there's a reaction. And as a hydrotherapist, that's what you use. You use the quick cold as a reaction. And so again, this is where your water and your exercise go hand in hand. But I discovered a form of exercise a couple of years ago now that meant I only had to exercise for 15 minutes now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's attractive to everyone because most people say, I haven't got time. Well, what is this 15 minutes? It's the high intensity interval training, which are intervals of high intensity, intervals of recovery, intervals of high intensity, only 30 seconds high intensity, about 2 minutes recovery, 6 times. So that's about 15 minutes. So it was raining this morning, couldn't do my cold dunk. So I did 20 squats, 20 push-ups, ladies, stretches, a little bit of rebounding. So I do alternate it there. So no matter where I am, no matter what the weather is, I move because I have proved, and 1 Thessalonians 5:21 says, prove all things and hold fast to that which is good. So once you prove it in your life, you're looking for it. So the first day I was here, the lady I stayed with, she took me for a walk. She took me to the river, and I'm surveying the scene. Right, I could walk there. Yes, I could dunk there. There's a tree with branches right there. Yes, I could change there. So wherever I go, I've got my eyes out.
You're planning on how and where will I get my exercise and your health regimen.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
I would agree 100% with what you're saying in all of these things. Sitting where you're sitting now, not too long ago, we did an interview with Dr. John Scharfenberg, who's over 100 now. He attends church here. And we asked him the top things. He had exercise on his top list. He said, even more sometimes important than what you're eating is, are you exercising? He said, statistically, it's been proven that people that get more exercise, even if their diet isn't ideal, they have a better chance of a longer life than inactive people.
That's absolutely true. And I love the work of Dr. Neil Nedley, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And I remember him saying once, he said, if he gets a very depressed, even bipolar person, he puts them on 7 hours of exercise a day. Now, most people go, what? 7 hours of exercise a day? Well, he said they usually only have to do it for 7 days, and they're so improved they can go to a 1 hour day maintenance dose or 50 minutes high intensity interval training to maintain it, because what it's doing, it's actually getting blood to the brain. And when you get fresh supplies of blood to the brain, the old blood, of course, is moved out. But what it's also doing is it's increasing oxygen in the brain. And we have 1 trillion cells in our brain. They're the nerve cells, but they all have the energy cycle in it. And if each cell has enough oxygen to get down to the mitochondria Krebs cycle, it'll give 36 units of energy compared to the no oxygen cycle in the cell, which only gives 2 units. And so that's why Neil Nedley was finding such great responses with this increase in exercise is brain. So when our brain cells, if 1 trillion brain cells are all giving off 36 units of energy, whoa.
Well, God made our bodies for activity.
He did.
And if they're not active, then nothing really works right.
No, it's true. And I think it's a pity that that people stop being so active in the latter years of life. I think they actually need that even more. And I've come to the conclusion that people age because they stop moving and they stop jumping. And a wonderful way to jump is on that little rebounder, the little mini trampoline.
Right. Keeps all your joints
That's true.
more fluid.
And because you've got this cushioning effect, it's great on your joints. And also on your lymphatic system, which is the system in the body that sweeps away waste from the tissues. It's like our body's vacuum cleaner.
I know I sometimes hear people say, well, I haven't got time to exercise. And a doctor said once, then you don't have time to lengthen your life. Well, you're going to have less life to lengthen if you don't take time. So you really got to do that, because you're buying time when you take the time to exercise.
That's true. It's the best insurance policy that you can make. And in the little book, Counsels on Health, I read a statement in there. She said, in a short time, you will so realize the benefits of pure air and exercise, you would not live without these blessings. And I memorized that because I have found that to be true.
Absolutely. All right. Point number 3.
Point number 3. Do you know, I read a book by Doug McGuff, and it's called Body by Science, and he takes you inside the cell and shows you exactly what's happening in exercise. And he was asked the question, so what's the most important, diet or exercise? He said, food. He said, because you can't exercise your way out of a bad diet. Now, I believe with the statement you said by the good doctor before, even when you're active, you can get away with a not so good diet. But the day does come. The day does come. And I know in Australia there's a lot of ladies trying to lose weight, and they go to the gym and they're working out on the gym, and on the corner they've got a chocolate bar. Their reward. That's not a reward. It's punishment.
Yeah.
That's punishment. That when you move the body, it certainly works better, but the fuel that you put in it. And I love these little pictures you've got in the background of some beautiful fuel. And they have shown, the research shows, that pleasing to the eye actually helps with digestion. And how pleasing is that picture to the eye? The purple grapes, the red tomatoes. And God he must have had fun making all of these fruits and vegetables. And what also is shown in the gut flora is that these fruits and vegetables contain fibre. And you can have 10 different types of apple, 10 different types of fibre. And what they're discovering today is every different type of fibre feeds a different microorganism in the gastrointestinal tract. And Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. And a lot of gut isn't working today because of lack of the microorganisms in the gut. We've got 10 times more microorganisms in the body than cells, and we've got 10 times more microorganisms in the gut than anywhere else in the body. And the beauty of this fibre and all the different types of fibre, they feed all the different types of microorganisms. So fuel is important, and we don't need to wonder the best fuel. We can go to the Garden of Eden because you can't improve on God. And God said in Genesis 1:29, behold, I've given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in the which of the trees of fruit bearing seed. To you it shall be for meat. Now, when the Bible talks about the meat of animals, it's called flesh. So this meat, and I'm sure you recognize that, is the main fuel of the body.
Like the meat of a nut. It means food.
Yes, yes. And as a nutritionist who has studied nutrition for many years, the 3 essential food groups are fibre, protein, and fat. So fibre, all your plant foods are high in fibre, and as we just looked at, that fibre is necessary to feed our microorganisms, and we should have a variety of fibre. The more fibre, the more microorganisms in the gut, and those microorganisms help to process our food. They do the final touches on the process. You see, our gastrointestinal tract is a hollow tube, and anything that goes in there is not part of us till it gets out of the gut and into the blood. And of course the blood's the life of the flesh, then it becomes part of us. So not only should we put the best food in, but we should also be mindful of our digestion, because that's responsible for breaking down that food to tiny little particles so it can get out of the gut and into the blood. So fibre is an essential. Protein, best protein is your legumes. So lentils, chickpeas, lima beans, nuts and seeds.
And I've learned this like you. I grew up in the world just eating the typical American diet, and there are a lot of sickness and colds in the family. And by default, folks know my testimony, I lived in the mountains for about 1.5 years and no refrigerator, so I had to carry fruit, and I couldn't have meat and stuff up there. I just started feeling better. Fresh water right outside the cave, eating natural food, and I'd get the spotted bananas. They take them out, and I'd make banana bread and grains. I was baking my own bread, and I started feeling better. Then I moved back to the city. I started feeling sick again, and it was about that time I started reading some of these books that you're talking about, and became a vegetarian, and then vegan vegetarian. I'd never go back. I mean, it's connected with my faith, but I've noticed such an incredible benefit that, and eating, not eating between meals.
Yeah.
I used to just, grab food, snack. I find it's so much better if I have a schedule and eat good things at good times, and I feel great then.
It's true. The body loves schedules. It loves routine. And I know as a mother of 6 children, and when Michael and I married 27 years ago, he had 2, so now we've got 8. But when I homeschooled my children in the rainforest, I noticed they were so much happier when we kept a schedule. And I could fit everything in the day because I had no electricity if I kept a schedule. And I found they were so much happier. I didn't want to be feeding them all day long. And so I just fed them a nice sized breakfast, fibre, protein and great fats. And then I didn't have to feed them again for 5 to 6 hours. And then we'd eat. So,
and they're hungry when they eat then.
Oh, they are. Yeah. And I say to people, you'll be surprised what children will eat when they're hungry.
Well, this has been tremendous. And so just for review, some of the things we can do to lengthen our life: good water inside and out, and exercise to get the motor started, having the right fuel for the machinery. Now,
do you know what I notice about your testimony, Doug? That they're the 3 things you had in the mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, and I learned it by accident, but I noticed such a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
And that I had to go back to the natural diet. And when you travel, sometimes I find when I cheat, I suffer.
Yeah.
And so especially when I'm home, it's so much easier to make sure I get my exercise and plenty of water first thing in the day. Try and eat a good diet.
That's right.
And boy, it goes a long way in lengthening your life.
That's absolutely right. I have a fairly heavy schedule, as I guess you do, Doug. I'm away from home 9 months of the year. And people say, how do you do it? Well, they must be my 3 tops.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent advice, Barbara. I'm so glad that you were able to come in and join us at Amazing Facts. And people will look forward to, they can visit your website if you want to mention that again.
Yes, my website is official BarbaraO'Neill.com.
Okay, and your friends, you'll see that on the screen.
And from there, you can go to a whole lot of areas.
Before I forget, we've got a magazine here I'm sure Barbara will endorse. It's the Amazing Facts magazine, 8 Bible Secrets to Stronger, Longer Health. And if you'd like to receive one of these, then just contact the information you see there on the screen. We'll send you a copy free of charge, and you can apply this. And it covers exactly what you've been talking in here, just not the same order. Water, exercise, food.
That's right.
And
that's why when you said to me 3, I said this is going to be hard because there's actually 8.
Yeah. We'll have to do another program and get the top 10. Well, thank you so much for coming, and thank you, friends, for joining us for this Amazing Facts Spotlight.